did you like my Disney Magic Kingdom-esque teaser I did there? I don't know, I was bored. Welcome to Goosebumps HorrorTown playthrough with Part 0. The introduction to what this playlist has to offer when it comes to this event, the Event 17. You might be wondering why I've been doing this now, especially since this update didn't really have much of a teaser. And that's mostly because there are a lot more information I wanted to insert here, rather than put it into the in-game app or update type of stuff. Like, I tend to like to have this information off to the side for people who really want to know more about this certain thing. But yeah, there you go. And I just made that little thing just for fun, because, you know, I thought it would be kind of cool to actually have something like that be posted. I'm sure, you know, had I actually got access to this stuff, it would have been a lot more better, but you know what, like, I did this for my free time while I was waiting, because literally been a week since we didn't get an update. I think apparently it was supposed to come out right after the update ended, but due to things, I guess they had to just prolong it to make sure the update was utmost polish as possible, because of how the last one ended, oh boy. But, yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about this update coming up. So, as you can pretty much give a guess from the hints I gave out in my last part 4 of the invasion, came from the internet, you would find out that this event is actually going for not a camp, but no, it's the Phantom of the Auditorium, and, oh no, not again. Don't tell me they didn't have a logo this time. Oh! The logo's back! Man, isn't it nice to have an official logo put back on here? Yeah, it makes it a lot more better. Yeah, thank God, because that made my life easier. I didn't have to make another one, but yeah, it seems like they've gotten the quality control up and running, so therefore, thumbs up right there. Thank goodness for that. So, I guess now let's talk quickly about some of the stuff here. I'll talk more about the actual cover art here. As you see, there are 3 certain characters. I'm guessing this guy right here is the Phantom character. Then we have this ghost, which we'll talk a little bit about, with eyeballs. But then we also have this thing back here. I won't say what it is, because the game has pretty much kind of kept it a secret. And during the playthrough, you'll see why. But regardless of that, let's go ahead and talk quickly about this update. So like everything last time, I will be linking in the comment of the post I made onto the Reddit forum for the HorrorTown subreddit. But also I'll be linking to the articles on the Goosebumps wiki on more information on certain books, because I'm not going to go too much in depth, but I figured there's a little bit of info here, so I might as well give you a little bit of some background cool stuff. But before we go and talk about the book, I want to mention some things here that I thought would be of interest to you. The first one is that way back in the beta phase, like when this game was being announced and some teasers were floating around, one of the things I showed off was that of Grandma back in the Squeezer's Revolution. This time around, it had that again, but this came from this image here. This was supposed to show off the whole linking to friends kind of deal. And as you'll notice, there's this strange guy over here. I assume this was originally supposed to be what the Phantom was supposed to be, or whatever quick design of like, oh, the Phantom looks like this kind of deal. So, yeah, it doesn't look like that this time around, but this officially marks all the characters that has been cited from this game has now made its appearance into the game. So, now all the characters has been teased in the beta, finally is in the game, no one's been left out. That's great to know. Like, ooh, thank God. That's all said and done. So now it's all new stuff that we won't know unless we go secretly hiding in the internet, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. Now, before we talk a bit more of the story, I know I'm holding this off, but I want to give a shout out to as an associate I know. You might have seen him on these videos. His name is, I hope I'm not mispronouncing this, but I'm sorry, Erasmo. Now, he actually, you might not know who he is, but way back during the Valentine's Day update, the Senpai Noticed Me comment, you'll notice that two people got mentioned, that being myself and Erasmo. The reason being is that Erasmo, like me, has been a fan of this game, and he's been kind of wanting to do a lot of content when it comes to some ideas. And as of recently, I've been kind of in contact with him and kind of been... It seems like me and him are with the same contact, so it's kind of nice to get this community kind of slowly together. But I wanted to mention him because the story you're about to read, for the most part, the overall kind of narrative of sorts was kind of done by him. Now, I don't know how much 100% of his writing and story was in here, because usually he gives suggestions and then they kind of fine-tune and tweak it to make it better. So I'm not sure how exactly his influence is in the game. He might leave a comment down below to give his opinion, but as far as I can see, it looks as though, most of the narrative you're about to read is thanks to him. So I'm going to give a shout out to him because I like to be a bit more conclusive with this community, and I always like to show things off. I've been in contact with a bunch of people, some new faces and others that has been commenting for a while. In fact, I've even met somebody who is an avid fan of the Goosebumps series and has been recently making fan art of the HorrorTown content. It'll be interesting to see if they have a take on me, but who knows? I'm not even sure if they watch my videos. I think they do, though. I don't know. Ooh. Alright, I have stalled long enough. Let's talk about some information about what this book is based off of. So as the name entitles, this is based off the book The Phantom of the Auditorium. This is roughly based off of the actual theater play that you may know, known as The Phantom of the Opera. It's same concept, kind of done through more of a child level reading kind of deal. The concept of it is simply that a school is going through a play, much like the Phantom of the Opera, but it's the auditorium because, you know, the school has an auditorium. So it's that kind of concept, and it kind of plays a lot with the opera, or the Phantom of the Opera type of book. But it has its own little twist and new things. Out of all the Goosebumps books from the original series, as well as the episode, this one still holds up to a good standard, and I still like it, and it's one of the favorites. So to see them finally adapt this into the setting, especially for a June update, is interesting. Usually around June we get some camping stuff, but not this time around. So again, it's nice to see they have this update here. Now you might have noticed I've been kind of showing you the different cover arts from released around the different parts of the world. Some of them are interesting, others are not so creative, and some are just downright horrifying. But that's to be expected. I don't think anyone could top Korea at this point. But, yeah, some of them come close. I love the fact that French is just a vampire in the background, but, what can you do? But, yeah, that's about that. Again, if you want more information when it comes to the overall character, normals, stuff like that, it will be in the book. You'll notice that during the storyline that the character Zeke that was mentioned back in the update, yeah, this is the Zeke in this story. However, they've kind of changed it so that the Zeke is the son to Mayor Johnson here. Not only that, but in the book, there was a character by the name of Brooke, and they decided to make our Brooke in the game the Brooke in the story. So you'll see how nicely everything kind of comes connected together, and they gotta give a good explanation of what's been going on here. So again, it's a bit of a mishmash type of deal, especially with the one character that I will not mention, but oh boy, is that somewhat funny. It has something to do with the ghost over here. Well, it's not really a ghost, so let me explain who this is. This is Gina. She is a genie, and she comes from the Choose Your Own Adventure book, or the Give Yourself Goosebumps, Screams of the Evil Genie. This character is going to be a bit of a side note. They are going to be part of the story, but it's not going to be a main focus. They're going to be there as a little introduction, and that's it. They're going to get the ball rolling. You'll see during the playthrough what I'm talking about. But it's nice to finally get this kind of character into the game. It'll be nice, too, to finally kind of go in depth with her and maybe even have her own little update in the future, but we'll just have to wait and see what the devs have in store. But for now, I won't touch much about this book, just because I feel like it's not really warranted as such, so I'm going to leave it. But I will leave the information down below in case you are interested in what that whole story is about. But yeah, I can see this, if she does get her own little event, I can see that being somewhat of a rock concert. You'll see why when you go down and read her description, but yeah, the way they designed her is somewhat interesting, so yeah, there's that. Right, so about this time, I go ahead and read you the patch notes that was given to me, but before I do that, there's one last thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, I know, there's a lot of things I want to mention, but this is the last one, I swear. Did you know that The Phantom of the Auditorium was actually adapted into a theater play? That's right. This was actually some point around 2010s. I'm not sure the exact date. But there was actually, for a bit of time, there was an actual play based off of this book. And I thought, how appropriate. Especially, and it's funny too, because you got to see different versions of the Phantoms, like the newer one that was re-released by Mark, and then the classic one done by Tim. But then you get the versions that, like in the play, this is what the Phantom looks like here, and ooh, man, it looks certainly interesting. It has this tragedy mask kind of look, and it has like this Dracula-looking cape. I don't know, I don't mind this look. It looks kind of cool, and well, wait until you see what the Phantom looks like in the game, because oh boy, do I have lots of maymays with that one. Man, I can see where the references is with what they choose, but I'll get into that when we get into the gameplay. Right, so I think that's all the little fun facts I'd like to throw at you at this time. You can learn more down below, and now I'm going to be reading you what they've sent to me. However, this time around, I am going to be reading from my own kind of notes here. Not by much, but I will go ahead and read you the blurb. You're invited to the grand opening night. The mayor is putting a great deal of effort to recover the neighborhood's welfare by setting up the famous play, The Phantom of the Auditorium, at the Promenade. Meet Zeke, her son, who have come to visit just in time for the audition, and oh no, he's gone out missing. Who could have kidnapped him? Get ready for the most dramatic event ever. Yeah, so you can already tell there is something going on here, and oh boy, this whole narrative throughout this year has been leading up to this moment, and you'll see why. But for now, let's talk about some minor updates here. I'm going to go more in depth in part 1 and the Crafting 101, but I'll mention some things just in case I forget to mention them there. So, first off, like usual, like I just stated, this is based on the book of the same name, Phantom of the Auditorium, and a little bit of the character Scream of the Evil Genie. The event will come with 2 new scenes. The event of the Promenade will have the auditorium. That was going to be the event-specific scene. And there's 2 scenes that you can actually buy within the shop. Well, technically 3, but I'll get to that in a minute. So there's 2 new scenes. One of them is going to be the one featuring Gina. The other one, oh boy, that one's going to be a little bit more high price, and it's very top secret. I won't spoil what it is, but from what I hear, it's going to be a lot. I hope it's doable, though. You'll be happy to know that there's only one premium character, and that is Zeke. And good news! He is not a unique character, so you can actually buy him through bucks. As how much it is, I'm not 100% sure as of yet, but it will be interesting to see what that later entails. Like usual, the It Came From the Internet book is no longer available, as we've kind of now expected. It's been a routine since April, so we've kind of just like, yeah, we know. But the other thing is, you'll notice, and I'll make mention of this in part 1, is that the one other book has now disappeared from the shop. And you may be wondering why that's the case. Well, surprisingly, I actually got into contact with my contact, and I asked them this, and they finally gave us an official statement the Pixowl has decided to let me say. Now, I've mentioned this, and I think I mentioned this in one of the Facebook groups, but I'm going to mention it fully here in one of the part 1s when we get to that role. You'll hear what I mean, and I'm going to save it for that, but it'll be interesting. Now, as I mentioned before, there is technically another scene you can buy, as well as a character you can buy. I say technically because I think they're doing something new now. You'll, for a limited time, be able to buy not only Sam, but also the theater, or the auto theater, whatever it's called, in the shop for event currency for a limited time. I'm thinking the reason they're doing this is to test a feature out. As you'll notice, some characters are being featured in the game, like say, for example, Selma from the last event, or character Pacific, like back in Christmas there was Courtney. But if you notice, some characters are available at a later date, at a later, like, what do you call it, old level, you know, the level preceding that. I think what they're doing is what they did back in the not the Halloween one, but the Valentine's Day of 2019. I was about to say 18. There was no Valentine's in 2018. The Valentine Night Fever one, when they introduced the Fever Swamp update. For a limited time, you'd be able to access those characters at a lower level compared to getting them at a higher level. So, I'm thinking what they're going to do is they're going to be trying out that for characters that are specific for the event, you'll be able to get access to them ahead of time compared. So, if you're a new player and you just upgraded to level 10 and you're actually into the event area, you'll be able to get these characters without having to be at the level to get them. I'm not sure how it will work, but they've done it in their other games, so it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be a new thing moving forward. And I really hope that these two characters do not disappear right after the event ends. I'm going to be making sure they don't, because I am going to have a field day. That game going to break, because But anyways, I digress. There are two new lands that are now available in the game. Namely, they're both Goosebumps or hard currency. I will talk about them in part 1. And you'll happy to know that the 5-day bonus will now give you up to 175 event coins for every 5 days. So it's a bit more interesting, I will say that. And I think that is about it for the patch notes here. Now, one last thing before I end it off and we get to go into part 1 is I would like to make a notice of something. If you've seen my channel since the beginning, you'll notice that if you look at my older stuff now, that there has been some new changes. Yeah, as of now, all my older thumbnails has now been updated to the newer standard that I have now. Some of them are minor cases, like you'll see that it used to have no border around the app icon, but now there is. Others are slightly different and more cleaner, like the Nightmare on Clown Street one. And then there are really extreme changes, namely the events, the Valentine's, the Christmas, Halloween ones. But also, the majority big change that you'll probably notice is the one from the Invasion of the Body Squeezers. I've really had to redo all that stuff there to make it look cleaner than it was with the garbage I did before. Now, with that being said, I'm real happy with how the thumbnails look now. They're more appropriate to how this whole channel is. The issue now, though, is that people will click on it thinking that they'll get the same quality as they do with these recent videos, but the videos back then is going to be more, well, not good. But I am going to leave it as such because, unfortunately, I won't be able to redo all of them because of the quality videos. However, I heard there is a new feature that might be coming that I might explain in part 1, and if that is the case, then I might be able to have a video in the future to redo those ones, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think I've talked in long enough, so that's all the information you need to know for the introduction to this event, so I'll be seeing you in part 1, and yeah, so I'll end it off at there.